Alrighty, Tuesday, May 21st, quick session recap here, starting off with ES. So coming into the session, what we had talked about this morning during the live stream was that price is trading within a near-term range. That is pretty clear when we look at this 15 and 30-minute time frame structure following last Wednesday's expansion day. What you see is price kind of set up within a near-term range here. We do have that significant retest on Friday of that Fibonacci buy zone, which is from this expansion move. So you get a retest there into that Fibonacci buy zone, right? Buyers step in. You see that rally into the close on Friday. Monday shows a little bit of the continuation move into that near-term range high where we should be expecting sellers. Sellers step in there. We get a retest down into the near-term range volume point of control. Bit of oscillation there during the overnight session. Price rolls over ahead of the open right into that prior day low. That was our main watch coming into the session today, wanting to see how price responds versus that prior day low. And one of the reasons that level was significant is because if we take a look at the shape of the daily candle here, let me have this chart rescale here in just a moment. There it is. So you can see pretty clear exhaustion there when we look at the daily bar. So like I've been saying about these other opportunities where we see exhaustion on the daily candle on the daily time frame chart, remember the primary trend here is higher. Price is at all-time highs. Just because we have an exhaustion bar does not necessarily mean that sellers are going to be stepping in heavily, right? So we've seen this time and time again over the past few weeks. You have an exhaustion bar right here. Sellers really failed to materialize any type of move lower. You've got consecutive exhaustion bars right there. Again, the dip here gets immediately absorbed by buyers. Another exhaustion bar right through there on Thursday. Blips below that low and gets absorbed. Today, you get a little tiny blip below yesterday's low, and it's just quickly absorbed. So if you find yourself offsides in a move like this, is something you want to keep in mind. What is the primary trend? Primary trend is still higher. Price is at all-time highs. We do have, again, some signs of exhaustion via those daily time frame candlesticks, but they're on below average volume, right? So it's not going to be a super significant signal there. What we primarily want to focus on, and what I pretty much always default to, is that near-term structure, especially as an intraday trader. This is really going to offer a solid map that we can use to help navigate the session. So you come into a day like today, we know that the near-term structure is a range. We can essentially lean our bias, at least for the morning, at least for the early portion of the session, based on how price responds to one primary reference point early on in the session. Thankfully, we don't always have this, but thankfully today we see that price is poised to open, regular trading hours open right there near prior day low. So we can say, all right, well, depending on how price responds to prior day low, pretty much off the open will determine how I'm going to be trading for the session. And the idea is that, well, if prior day low holds, that's going to serve as support, right? We can at the very least see a gap fill up into 53.30 was that gap fill price, and then maybe into 53.33, which is our upside level of interest. And then if buyers continue to pay up above there, where's the next area of resistance? Well, it's this upside level of interest right through here, 53.50 / the prior day high. So you take a look at your intraday action here. Here's that prior day low, right? You get that immediate bid right off the open. A little oscillation here near VWAP, right? But we know that prior day low is holding, so we don't necessarily want to be shorting here, at least not before 10 a.m. Then you get just the continuation higher. Now, pretty low volume action today. That was well within the expectations, and broadly speaking, today could and should be considered a slower session. Our ATR is 25 versus a normal 51. So only putting in half of an ATR move. That is the same thing that we saw yesterday and on 81% of the daily average volume. So low volume, another compression day, right? One of the things I talked about on Friday, a few days ago now, was that following this expansion move, it's not unusual to see that compression, right? So tomorrow we have FOMC minutes, and then after the close, we do have NVIDIA earnings. I suspect that most likely by Thursday's session, we should see price leaving this near-term range. We've had about 4 sessions of compression now, so getting to be due for that next leg, up or down, either way, outside of this near-term range. As far as tomorrow's session specifically, what I'll be looking for is how price responds versus this near-term range high, right? 53.50 is going to be the primary reference point for tomorrow's session here on ES. Again, as always, depends on how much overnight action we have, how much overnight action we see, and I'll share an update like I always do with the pre-market prep live stream. But as of right now, structure shows price testing that near-term range high where we know sellers have shown before. So primary watch tomorrow morning is going to be reaction versus this 53.50 upside level of interest near-term range high here on ES. Now let's jump over to NQ. The setup was a bit different here and continues to be a little bit different here on NQ. NQ is holding much better. Yesterday definitely showed relative strength versus ES, and we see that during the overnight session as well. Right off the open, right before the open, we do get that pullback into that 18,700 level of interest, right? Now that was the main watch on NQ today, and you could see buyers step in to defend that level of interest. Now at the time, this morning, we did have this high volume node where my cursor is right through here as the near-term range volume point of control. So those areas can usually act as an area of support or resistance. That's always going to be a significant level within a near-term structure. And again, what price is telling us right now is that this is most likely accumulation. You have a retest of that near-term volume point of control. It holds as support. Price resolves higher. Again, those are clues that this has been accumulation. So as far as, and it does make a fresh all-time high here into the close as well. As far as what we'll be looking at for tomorrow here on NQ, pretty similar to ES as far as the main watch. We want to see how price is going to be responding to this 18,800 upside level of interest, essentially today's high. So pretty straightforward stuff there on NQ. ES near-term range high, NQ 18,800 main level of interest. No major catalyst tomorrow during the morning, but we do have FOMC minutes during the afternoon. Generally speaking, that's not nearly as important or as big as like a normal FOMC meeting, but can definitely bring in an audience. So be watching for volume in the afternoon. Otherwise, just continuing to follow the structure. Hope everyone had a profitable session. If you guys have any questions about anything, feel free to shoot me a DM. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a good afternoon.